The year was 2847 when humanity first stepped into the galaxy. Their ships were small compared to the great vessels of the elder races. Their technology was simple. Their numbers were few. The Galactic Assembly, a council of 12 ancient species, watched these newcomers with the same interest one might give to a child learning to walk. Admiral Park Dewan stood on the bridge of humanity's first diplomatic vessel, the Unity, as it approached the assembly station. He was 63 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many wars on Earth. Behind him stood his crew of 200 humans, all wearing their best uniforms, all nervous, all hopeful. "They're scanning us," said Lieutenant Yoon Hana, his youngest officer. She was barely 25, fresh from the academy, chosen for this mission because she spoke 7 alien languages. "Let them scan," Dewan replied. "We have nothing to hide." This was not entirely true, but Dewan smiled anyway. The assembly station was enormous. It could hold 1 billion beings from across the galaxy. When the human delegation walked through its halls, they passed creatures of every shape and size. The Velthri were tall and elegant, with skin like polished silver. The Krix were insects the size of bears, clicking and buzzing as they moved. The Fenari floated in gravity bubbles, their jellyfish bodies pulsing with soft light, and all of them looked at the humans with something between curiosity and pity. "Such small creatures," a Velthri diplomat said during their first meeting. "From such a dangerous world, it is remarkable you survived it all." Dewan bowed politely. "We are grateful for the galaxy's welcome." "Yes, well." The Velthri waved one long hand. "You may settle in the outer regions. The worlds there are harsh, but perhaps suitable for a species accustomed to hardship." They gave humanity the scraps, the frozen planets, the desert moons, the toxic atmospheres. Every world the elder races had rejected, they offered to humans with generous smiles. Dewan accepted everything. He thanked them for their kindness. He signed their trade agreements, even the unfair ones. He nodded through their lectures about proper galactic behavior. On the shuttle ride back to their ship, Hannah finally spoke. "Sir, they're treating us like animals. Like pets." "Yes," Dewan agreed. "And we're just going to accept it." The old admiral turned to look at her. His eyes, which had seemed so tired before, suddenly held a different light. "Lieutenant, do you know why humans survived on Earth when so many species did not?" She shook her head. "Because we learned patience. We learned to wait. We learned that the prey who runs too early gets caught, but the prey who waits for the right moment can become the predator." He looked out the window at the stars. "We will smile. We will bow. We will take their scraps and say thank you. And while they ignore us, we will build. We will grow. We will remember." "Remember what, sir?" "Everything." The years passed. Humanity spread to their unwanted worlds and made them flourish. On Kepler 4 to be, a frozen wasteland, Captain Imtason established the first major colony. The Velthri had laughed when humans requested this world. Nothing could grow there. Nothing could survive. Within 10 years, 3 million humans called it home. They built heated domes. They developed new farming techniques. They discovered rare minerals beneath the ice that powered a new generation of computers. Within 50 years, Kepler 442b was one of the wealthiest worlds in the Outer Rim. Tayson was an old man by then. Watching his granddaughter Imsamen graduate from the military academy, she was tall and strong, with her grandfather's stubborn chin and her mother's sharp mind. "The galaxy still thinks we're weak," Salman said to him after the ceremony. The Velthri ambassador called us humanity's little success story in his speech last week. "Like we're children who finally learned to tie our shoes." Tayson laughed. "Good. Let them think that. It's insulting. It's useful." He took her hand. "Salman, I've lived long enough to see what humans can do when no one is watching. We've built shipyards in asteroid fields. We've developed weapons the Assembly has never dreamed of. We've trained soldiers on death worlds that make Earth look like a paradise." He squeezed her fingers. "One day the galaxy will understand what humanity truly is. But that day should come when we choose it Not when they expected. Solman frowned. You talk like we're preparing for war, or preparing for survival. Whether that means war or peace depends on the galaxy, not us. In the decades that followed, humanity continued its quiet growth. They never raised their voices in assembly debates. When two species went to war over a border dispute, human medical ships arrived to help both sides. When a plague struck a Krix colony, human scientists helped develop a cure. When a Fenari art exhibition needed funding, human merchants provided it. The galaxy began to see humans as helpful, harmless, and slightly boring. Perfect neighbors. Excellent trading partners. No threat to anyone. Behind this friendly mask, the work continued. Admiral Kung Wu-jin oversaw the secret construction of the First Fleet. His shipyards were hidden inside hollow asteroids, invisible to assembly sensors. His workers were sworn to silence. His ships were designed not for exploration, but for war. How many do we have now? Asked Director Shin Yanwu, the government's chief strategist. She visited the shipyard once a year, always in disguise, always alone. 3,000 combat vessels, Wu-jin reported, plus support craft, carriers, and bombers. We could match any single assembly species in open battle. It's not enough. It's never enough for you, Director. She smiled. That's why humanity is still alive, Admiral. Because people like me are never satisfied. 300 years after first contact, humanity had spread to 200 worlds. Their population numbered 15 billion. Their secret military was the largest in the galaxy, though no one knew it. Their technology had quietly surpassed most assembly species, though they carefully hid their advances, and still they smiled. Still they bowed. Still they said thank you. Governor Beak, Gion of Nu. Busan Station was hosting a dinner party when the first Dreven ships appeared on her sensors. The Dreven were newcomers too, younger even than humans. They were aggressive and proud, desperate to prove themselves as galactic powers. Gillen sent a polite greeting. The Dreven did not respond. She sent a diplomatic request for communication. Silence. She sent an unarmed shuttle with gifts and translators. The Dreven shot it down. On Earth, President Cho Yunji read the reports with a calm face. So, she said quietly, it begins. 300 years of patience. 300 years of preparation. 300 years of smiling while the galaxy looked down on them. Humanity had always known this day would come. They had always known that eventually someone would mistake their kindness for weakness. The Dreven had made that mistake. They would not be the first species to underestimate humanity. But they might be the last. The Dreven were a proud species. Their bodies were covered in thick scales of dark blue. Their eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. They stood 8 feet tall and believed themselves destined to rule the stars. Their homeworld orbited a dying sun. In 2,000 years, it would go dark and their species would freeze. This knowledge drove them like a constant hunger. They needed new worlds. They needed resources. They needed power, and they believed they deserved to take it, Commander. Vex of the Dreven Third Fleet studied his star maps with satisfaction. The outer rim was full of soft targets, small colonies, weak defenses, species that would not fight back. What about these worlds? His lieutenant asked, pointing to a cluster of human settlements. The humans? Vex made a sound like grinding stones. It was the Dreven equivalent of laughter. They are nothing. In 300 years, they have never fought anyone. They bow and smile like servants. They will give us what we want, or we will take it. Governor Beak Gion did not bow. She did not smile. When Dreven warships entered her system, she stood on the command deck of New Busan Station and sent a clear message. This is Governor Beak Gion of the United Earth Government. You have entered human space without permission. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The Dreven responded by destroying her communications array. Gion was 47 years old. She had spent her life building this station from a collection of metal boxes into a thriving home for 2 million people. She had raised 3 children here. She had buried her husband here. She would not abandon it without a fight. Send word to Earth, she ordered her officers. Tell them what's happening. Then prepare our defenses. Governor, our defenses are minimal. We have 6 patrol ships and a handful of ground weapons. We cannot fight a Dreven fleet. No Gian greed. But we can make them pay for every inch they take. On Earth, President Cho Yoon-ji received the message. She immediately contacted the Galactic Assembly and requested emergency intervention. The Dreven were violating 17 different treaties. Surely the Assembly would act. The Assembly debated. The Velthari argued that humans should negotiate directly with the Dreven. The Krix suggested that perhaps the humans had somehow provoked the attack. The Fenari proposed forming a committee to study the situation. 6 months passed. The Assembly issued a statement, expressing concern about the situation in human space. The Dreven took this as permission. On Sajong Prime, 4 million humans lived peaceful lives. The planet was beautiful, covered in forests and rivers and mountains. It had schools and hospitals and theaters. It had families eating dinner together. It had children playing in parks. It had old couples walking hand in hand. Lieutenant Commander Nam Jie was stationed on the defense frigate, unyielding in orbit above Sajong Prime. She was 31 years old, unmarried, devoted to her ship and her crew. When the Dreven fleet appeared on her sensors, she felt her heart stop. 20 warships. 20 massive Dreven destroyers against her single frigate. Contact command, she ordered. Tell them we need reinforcements. Commander, reinforcements are 8 hours away.
Hours.
She looked at the planet below. 4 million people. 8 hours. Then we give them 8 hours, she said. All hands to battle stations. We will hold this line as long as we can. The unyielding fought. It fought for 1 hour, then 2, then 3. GA used every trick she knew, every tactic she had learned, every ounce of courage her crew possessed. They disabled to Dreven ships. They damaged 5 more. They became a legend, but they were 1 ship against 20. By the 6th hour, the unyielding was dying. Fire consumed 3 decks. Half the crew was dead. The engines were failing. GA sat in her command chair, blood running down her face, and looked at the Dreven flagship. Sir, her helmsman whispered. He was barely 19, a boy from Seoul who had joined the fleet to see the stars. What do we do? GA smiled at him. We do what humans have always done. We fight until we can't fight anymore. Then we make sure our enemies remember us. She aimed her crippled ship at the Dreven flagship and gave the final order. The unyielding struck the enemy vessel at full speed. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. 2,000 Dreven soldiers died. Commander Vex barely escaped with his life, but it wasn't enough. The Dreven didn't understand what had just happened. They didn't understand that a human commander had sacrificed herself and her crew to slow them down. They only understood that these weak, smiling humans had hurt them. Destroy everything, Vex ordered. No survivors. The bombardment of Sajong Prime lasted 12 hours. The Dreven didn't target military bases because there were almost none. They targeted cities. They targeted schools. They targeted hospitals. When the human relief fleet finally arrived, they found nothing but glass and ash. 4 million dead. Every man, woman, and child on the planet. Every family. Every dream. Every future Admiral Kung Wujin walked through the ruins of what had been the capital city. His boots crunched on broken glass that had once been buildings. He found a child's toy, half melted, lying in the ash. He picked it up. He looked at it for a long time. Then he began to cry. On Earth, President Cho Yoon-ji addressed the nation. Behind her, screens showed images of Sajong Prime before and after. The beautiful forests, the happy cities, the ash. For 300 years, she said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks, humanity has been patient. We have been peaceful. We have shown the galaxy that we desire only friendship and cooperation. The silence was absolute. The Dreven Dominion has answered our friendship with murder. They have killed 4 million of our people. They have burned our world. They have shown us what they truly are. Her expression changed. The sadness remained, but something else appeared behind it. Something cold. Something ancient. Something that had slept in human hearts since the first cave dwellers learned to sharpen stones, till the Dreven Dominion. You wanted war. You have it. You wanted to show the galaxy your strength. We will show you ours. You thought our kindness was weakness. You thought our patience was fear? She leaned forward. You were wrong. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will be no peace until justice is done. You have woken something that should have been left sleeping. Now you will learn why humanity survived on a death world. Now you will learn why we were patient. Now you will learn the price of our tears. She stood up straight. As of this moment, the United Earth government declares total war on the Dreven Dominion. May God have mercy on your souls, because we will not. The broadcast ended. Across human space, in secret shipyards and hidden bases, lights began to turn on. Engines began to warm. Soldiers began to march. 300 years of preparation. The sleeping giant was awake, and it was angry. The galaxy expected complaints. The galaxy expected angry speeches at the assembly. The galaxy expected humans to cry and beg for help. As they had always done, the galaxy did not expect 12,000 warships to appear from nowhere. Admiral Oh Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the flagship Wrath of Saljong, watching his fleet assemble. 40 years of secret construction. 3 generations of planning. Ships hidden in hollow asteroids, in gas clouds, in places the assembly had never thought to look. All fleets reporting ready, Admiral said his aide, Captain Bae Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo was young, only 32, but his eyes were old. His grandfather had died on Sajong Prime, a retired teacher who spent his last moments shielding students with his body. How many ships did the Dreven bring to Sajong? Sung-ho asked. 20, sir. And how many do we bring to them? Hyunwoo almost smiled. 12,000, sir. Then let's begin. The Galactic Assembly received the first reports with disbelief. Thousands of human warships? Impossible. The humans had no military. The humans were peaceful. The humans were weak. The Velthari ambassador demanded an explanation. The Krix threatened sanctions. The Fenari suggested this might all be a misunderstanding. Ambassador Wang Suyang, humanity's representative to the assembly, listened to their complaints with a patient expression. She was 60 years old, small and thin, with gray hair and glasses. She looked like someone's grandmother. You're correct that humanity has built a significant military force, she said calmly. We have done so legally, within our own territory, using our own resources. There is no treaty that forbids this, but the deception. The Velthari ambassador shouted, You hid this from us? We hid nothing. You simply never looked. Us. Su Yang adjusted her glasses. For 300 years, the assembly told us we were weak. You gave us the worst worlds. You restricted our trade. You looked down on us at every opportunity. And not once, did any of you bother to check if we remained weak. She stood up. The Dreven killed 4 million of our people. We asked for help. You gave us a committee. Now we will help ourselves. If you have complaints, I suggest you write them down and submit them to the appropriate department. She walked out. The Dreven Dominion controlled 37 star systems. They had 800 warships, a massive army, and 300 years of conquered territory. They believed they were invincible. Admiral Oh Sung-ho sent them a message. To the Dreven Dominion, in 24 hours, we will begin military operations against your territories. We give you this warning so that you may evacuate civilians from military areas. Humanity does not make war upon children. We are not you. Commander Vex, who had led the attack on Sajong Prime, received this message aboard his new flagship. He read it 3 times. Then he began to laugh. They warn us? They give us time to prepare? These humans are fools. Sir, his lieutenant said nervously, Our scouts report their fleet numbers in the thousands. Numbers mean nothing against Dreven courage. We will crush them as we crush their world. He was wrong. The human fleet struck exactly 24 hours later, just as promised. They attacked every Draven military target simultaneously. Shipyards, weapons factories, command centers, military academies. Captain Bei Wu led the assault on Draven Prime itself. His squadron emerged from faster-than-light travel directly above the enemy homeworld. The Draven defense fleet moved to intercept. All ships weapons-free, Hunhua ordered. Military targets only? Any ship that fires on civilian areas will answer to me personally. The battle lasted 18 hours. The Draven fought with courage and desperation. They were warriors, after all. They did not surrender easily, but courage cannot stop physics. Desperation cannot overcome numbers. One by one, the Draven ships died. When it was over, Hunwu looked down at the planet below. The cities were intact. The schools were standing. The hospitals were untouched. Only the military bases were burning. Launch humanitarian aid packages, he ordered. Medical supplies, food, water. Make sure the civilians know they are not our enemies, sir. His lieutenant was confused. They killed 4 million of our people. Their military killed 4 million of our people. Their children are innocent. Hunwu thought of his grandfather, the teacher. That's the difference between us and them. That's why we fight. On the surface of Draven Prime, millions of civilians huddled in shelters waiting for death. They had heard stories of Sajong Prime. They knew what happened when the Draven conquered a world. They expected the humans to do the same. Instead, they heard a strange sound outside their shelters. Not explosions. Not screams. Something else. A young medic named Minjae was among the first humans to land on Draven Prime. He was 24 years old, barely old enough to shave. Carrying a medical kit that was almost as big as he was, he found a shelter full of terrified Draven children. Their parents had been called to fight. They were alone. Minjae didn't speak Draven. The children didn't speak any human language. But when he knelt down and offered them food, they understood. One child, braver than the others, crept forward. It looked at the human with its glowing yellow eyes. Then it took the food. "It's okay," Minjae said softly. "You're safe now. We're not here to hurt you." Across Draven space, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers distributed supplies. Human doctors treated the wounded, including Draven wounded. Human engineers helped repair civilian infrastructure. Dr. Xin Yanwu, the government's chief strategist, had planned this carefully. She understood that winning the war was easy. Winning the peace was harder. "We could exterminate them," she told President Cho Yoon-ji. "We have the power. But what would that make us? The same as them? Monsters who kill the innocent. The people want revenge. People want justice. They're not the same thing." Yanwu pulled up images of Minjae and the Draven children. This is what will echo through history. This is what the galaxy will remember. Not our weapons, but our choices. Cho Young-ji studied the images for a long time. "Continue the humanitarian operations," she said finally. "And find me Commander Vex." He answers for Sajong Prime. Commander Vex was found hiding in a bunker beneath his family estate. He had sent his soldiers to die while he cowered underground. When human troops pulled him into the light, he was weeping. "Have mercy." Captain Hunwu looked at the creature who had ordered the death of 4 million people. He thought of his grandfather. He thought of the children's toy Admiral Wujin had found in the ash. "You will have a trial," Hunwu said. "You will be judged by law, not by rage. That is the human way." "I don't understand," Vex whimpered. "We would have killed you all. Why don't you do the same?" Hunwu turned away. "Because we're better than you. We've always been better than you. We were just polite enough not to mention it." He walked into the light, leaving the Draven commander in the hands of military police. The war was over in 3 months. 80% of the Draven military had been destroyed. Their empire had fallen. Their leaders had surrendered or been captured, and humanity had not killed a single civilian. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. They had expected revenge. They had expected genocide. They had expected humans to become the monsters they fought. Instead, they saw something else. They saw strength paired with mercy. They saw power. Controlled by principle, they saw what humanity had been hiding for 300 years. Not weakness, not fear. Choice. The Galactic Assembly. Chamber had never been so quiet. 12 founding species sat in their designated seats, watching the human ambassador approach the central podium. 300 observers from minor species filled the galleries above. Ambassador Huang Suyang walked slowly, deliberately. She was small among giants. The Velthari towered above her. The Crix could have crushed her with one claw. The Finari floated overhead like living clouds, but every eye followed her. Every ear listened for her words. "You have called this emergency session to discuss humanity's actions in the recent conflict," she began. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the chamber. "Very well. Let us discuss." As she pressed a button on her podium, holographic images appeared throughout the chamber. Sejong Prime before the attack. Beautiful cities. Green forests. Children playing. 4 million people lived here, Suyang said. Teachers, doctors, artists, parents, children. They committed no crime. They threatened no one. The image changed. Ash, glass, ruins. This is what remained after the Driven attack. This is what they did while you debated. This is what they did while you formed committees and issued statements of concern. The Velthari ambassador rose. "Ambassador Wang, surely you cannot blame the Assembly for the actions of the Driven Dominion. We expressed our disapproval through proper channels." Proper channels. Soyang's voice remained calm. "Let me tell you about proper channels. We sent 17 diplomatic messages asking for dialogue. We sent unarmed envoys carrying gifts. We appealed to this assembly 3 separate times." She pulled up records on the holographic display. "The Assembly's response to our first appeal, the matter will be studied. Response to our second appeal, both parties should seek peaceful resolution. Response to our third appeal, sent 6 hours before the bombardment. A committee has been formed to examine the situation." She let the silence stretch. 4 million people died while your committee examined the situation. The Crix representative clicked angrily. "You cannot hold us responsible for drive and aggression. We are not their keepers." "No," Suyang agreed. "You are not their keepers. You are the Galactic Assembly. You are supposed to maintain peace and justice among the stars. You have rules. You have treaties. You have the power to enforce them." She stepped forward. "But you did nothing. You did nothing because the victims were human, and humans don't matter. We're the young species. We're the weak ones. We're the ones who smile and bow and take whatever scraps you offer. Why would you risk anything to protect us?" No one answered. "That's what I thought." Suyang straightened her glasses. "So let me tell you what will happen now. Humanity has defeated the Driven Dominion. Their military is destroyed. Their leadership has surrendered. Their empire has fallen." She pulled up new images. Maps of Driven space. Lists of assets. Population figures. "These are our terms. The Draven will be confined to their home system. Their fleet will be limited to defensive vessels only. They will pay reparations to the families of Sejong Prime's victims for the next 200 years. They will hand over all military personnel involved in the attack for trial." The Finari ambassador drifted forward. "These terms are harsh, Ambassador. Perhaps too harsh. The Driven people will suffer. The Driven people are alive to suffer. 4 million humans are not." Suyang's voice finally showed emotion. Just a crack. Just a moment. "My daughter lived on Sejong Prime. Ambassador. She was a pediatrician. She helped Driven refugees when their species first encountered ours. She believed in kindness and cooperation and everything this assembly claims to represent." She paused. Her name was Huang Yunji. She was 34 years old. She died trying to protect the children in her hospital. The Draven killed her anyway. The chamber was silent. "So do not speak to me of harsh terms. Do not speak to me of driven suffering. Speak to me of justice. Speak to me of consequences. Speak to me of making sure this never happens again." She looked around the chamber. "Does anyone object to our terms?" No one spoke. "Then this session is concluded." She walked out. This time, no one tried to stop her. In the months that followed, the galaxy slowly processed what had happened. The Driven Dominion accepted all of humanity's terms. Their emperor, the one who had approved the attack on Sajong Prime, was quietly killed by his own advisors. A new council took power, one that understood their species. Survival depended on human mercy. But the greater change was in how the galaxy saw humanity. War Correspondent Pio Hedgen traveled through Driven space, documenting the aftermath. What he found surprised him. On Driven Prime, human soldiers were helping rebuild a school that had been damaged in the fighting. Children watched them work, no longer afraid. Teachers thanked them in broken human language. "We don't understand," one Driven elder told Hedgen. "Your people should hate us. After what we did to your world, you should want us dead. Instead, you feed our children. You heal our sick. You rebuild our homes. That's who we are," said Corporal Moon Yaji, a 23-year-old engineer from Busan. She was covered in dust and sweat from a day of construction work. "That's who we've always been. Strong enough to win, wise enough to stop." Hedgen broadcast her words across the galaxy. They became famous. Commander Ruji-Su became the most celebrated hero of the war, not for the battles she won, but for the ones she chose not to fight. Her fleet had surrounded Vecker Station, a Dreven military base with 3,000 soldiers and 200 civilian workers. She could have destroyed it in minutes. Instead, she sent a message. "You have 1 hour to surrender. Your soldiers will be treated as prisoners of war under Galactic Convention. Your civilians will be released immediately. No one needs to die here." The Driven commander laughed at her. "You think we fear death? We are warriors." "I think you fear irrelevance," Jisoo replied calmly. "Your empire's falling. Your leaders have fled. Your families are waiting for you to come home. Die here if you want, but ask yourself, what will your death accomplish? Your war is already lost." Silence. 1 hour, Jisoo repeated. "Choose wisely." He surrendered with 10 minutes to spare. 3,000 soldiers were taken prisoner. 200 civilians were returned to their families. Not a single shot was fired. When the war officially ended, Galactic Assembly offered humanity a permanent seat on the Security Council. Ambassador Su Yang accepted, but her speech was brief. "We do not take this seat because we proved we can destroy. We take it because we proved we can choose. Humanity has always had the strength for war. What we've shown you is something rarer, the strength." H for peace. On Earth, President Cho Yoon-ji addressed the people for the final time before leaving office. She had aged 10 years in the span of 3. The weight of 4 million deaths had bent her shoulders, but not broken her spirit. "We won," she said simply. "But victory means nothing if we lose ourselves in the winning. We could have done to the Draven what they did to us. Some wanted that. Some still want that." She shook her head. "But that is not who we are. We are the species that survived a death world by helping each other. We are the species that crossed the stars not to conquer, but to explore. We are the species that remembers its dead, but does not worship revenge." She looked into the camera. "The galaxy feared us because we showed we could destroy. Let them respect us because we showed we could stop. Let them remember us not for the worlds we burned, but for the ones we saved. Let them know that humanity's greatest weapon was never our ships or our soldiers." She paused. It was our humanity. In a prison cell on neutral territory, Commander Vex awaited trial. He had been given a fair hearing. He had been allowed to speak in his own defense. He had been treated according to every law and custom of galactic civilization. He still didn't understand why Captain Hinwoo visited him once the night before the verdict. "Why?" Vex asked. "You could have killed me on sight. Your people would have cheered. Instead, you give me lawyers and judges and rights. Why?" Hyunwoo thought about it for a long time. "'Cause I had a grandfather," he said finally. "He taught children for 40 years. History, mostly. He always said that civilizations are judged not by how they treat their friends, but by how they treat their enemies." He stood up to leave. "Your victims deserve better than what you gave them. You deserve better than what you gave them. That's the difference between us, Commander. That's why we won." The door closed behind him. Vex sat alone in the darkness. Trying to understand a species that could conquer an empire and still show mercy to the monster who had slaughtered their children, he never succeeded. 10 years passed. The galaxy transformed. Admiral Osingo retired to a small farm in the mountains of Gangwon Province, South Korea. The man who had commanded 12,000 warships now spent his days growing vegetables and watching the seasons change. His grandchildren visited on weekends, and he taught them how to plant seeds and catch fish in the stream. Reporters came sometimes, asking about the war, asking about glory, asking about what it felt like to bring an empire to its knees. "Felt necessary," he always said. "Not good, not glorious. Necessary." "Do you regret anything, Admiral?" Seung-ho would think about this question every time. He thought about Sajong Prime. He thought about the soldiers who died under his command. He thought about the driven children who had lost parents in the war. "I regret that it happened at all," he said. "I regret that we lived in a universe where it had to happen. But I don't regret what we did or how we did it. We could have been monsters. We chose not to be." He returned to his vegetables. The reporters went away unsatisfied, looking for a more dramatic answer. There wasn't one. On Dreven Prime, a monument stood in the capital square. It showed a human child and a Dreven child holding hands, with words carved in both languages beneath them. The monument said, "From Ashes Understanding." Former Captain Behunewa, now ambassador to the Dreven Republic, attended its dedication. He stood beside Vortek, a Dreven veteran who had commanded a warship during the war. They had fought on opposite sides of the Battle of Dreven Prime. Now they worked together on reconstruction efforts. "I thought you would kill us all," Vortek admitted, watching Dreven and human children play together near the monument. "When your fleets appeared in our sky, I told my crew to prepare for death. I told them to die with honor, because the humans would show no mercy." "Some wanted exactly that," Hyunwoo admitted. "After Sejong Prime, there were voices calling for complete destruction. Burn every Dreven world, kill every Dreven soldier. Make sure they could never threaten us again." "What stopped you?" Hyunwoo watched the children play. A human girl had fallen, and a Dreven boy was helping her up. "We remembered who we wanted to be," he said. "Destroying you would have been easy. Living with ourselves afterward would have been impossible. We survived Earth, Vortek. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars that nearly ended us 100 times. We didn't survive all that just to become the monsters we fought." Vortek was quiet for a long time. "My people tell stories about humanity now. They say you are the galaxy's conscience. Gentle until provoked. Terrible in anger. Merciful in victory. And what do you think? I think you are the strangest species I have ever encountered." Vortek made a sound that might have been a laugh. "And I think we are very lucky you are strange. Across the galaxy, humanity's reputation had fundamentally changed. The Velthari, who had looked down on humans for 3 centuries, now requested human advisors for their diplomatic corps. The Krix, who had suggested humans might have provoked the Draven attack, now sent their young to study at human universities. The Fenari created art installations celebrating human history and philosophy. Ambassador Wang Suyang watched these changes with complicated feelings. She visited Sajong Prime every year on the anniversary of the attack. The planet had been transformed into a memorial. 4 million trees grew there now, one for each life lost. At the center of the forest stood a simple stone marker with words carved deep. They thought our kindness was weakness. They learned the difference. Suyang sat beneath the trees for hours, reading names from a list she always carried. Her daughter's name was on that list. Wang Yunji, pediatrician. Beloved. Lost. One year, she found she was not alone. A young Dreven diplomat stood at the edge of the clearing, watching her with uncertain eyes. "May I join you?" he asked in careful human language. Suyang nodded. He sat beside her in the grass. The trees whispered in the wind. The sun was warm. "I was a child when the war ended," the diplomat said. "I remember human soldiers coming to our shelter. My mother was terrified. She thought they would kill us. What happened? They gave us food, medicine. One of them, a young medic, he played with the children. He couldn't speak our language, but he made us laugh." The diplomat paused. "I decided then that I wanted to understand your species. I wanted to know why you didn't hate us." "Did you find your answer?" "No." He looked at her. "That's why I'm here. I've studied human history. I've read your philosophers. I've talked to your soldiers and diplomats and ordinary citizens. And I still don't understand how you can show mercy to those who hurt you so badly." Suyang considered the question. She was 70 years old now. Her hair was white. Her hands were spotted with age. She had spent a decade trying to answer this question herself. "We choose," she said finally. "That's the only answer I have. Every day, every moment, we choose who we want to be. Your people chose cruelty once. My people chose restraint. Then your people chose reform. My people chose forgiveness." She looked at the trees around them. "My daughter believed in kindness. She died believing in it. If I let her death turn me into someone she wouldn't recognize, then the Dreven would have killed her twice." She smiled, just a little. "So I choose to honor her memory instead. I choose to build the world she wanted to see." The diplomat was quiet. "Do you think there's hope for us?" he asked. "For the Dreven? I mean, after everything we did, there's hope for everyone," Suyang said. "That's the secret humanity learned on Earth. Hope isn't something you find. It's something you build, day by day, choice by choice. Even after everything breaks, you can build it again." Above them, ships from a dozen species crossed the sky. Human, Dreven, Velthari, Krix, Venari, traveling together to places that would have seemed impossible a generation ago. Dr. Xin Yanwu published her final report that year. She was 85 years old, and her analysis of the war's aftermath would be studied for centuries. "The galaxy feared humanity because we proved we could destroy," she wrote. "They respect us because we proved we could stop. In 300 years, we never raised our fists. In 3 months, we brought an empire to its knees. Then we helped that empire stand again. This is humanity's greatest weapon. Not our technology, not our numbers, our capacity to choose. We chose peace for 3 centuries. We chose war when peace failed. And when war ended, we chose to be better than our enemies had ever been." She concluded with a simple observation. "The universe is vast and often cruel. Species rise and fall. Empires conquer and crumble. But what endures, what truly endures, is how we treat each other in our worst moments." Humanity faced its worst moment and emerged with its soul intact. That is our legacy. That is our gift to the stars. On Earth, on a small farm in the mountains, Admiral Oh Sung-ho died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 92. His funeral was attended by admirals and presidents, by veterans and civilians, by humans and aliens who had once been enemies. His gravestone carried no mention of his rank or his victories. At his request, it bore only 4 words. He chose mercy. In the memorial forest of Sajong Prime, a new tree was planted in his honor. It stood beside 4 million others, swaying in the wind, reaching toward the stars. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had taught it. Some lessons are written in books. Some are carved in stone, but the truest lessons are written in choices, made again and again, day after day, by ordinary people who decide what kind of universe they want to live in. Humanity chose mercy. The galaxy would never forget, and in the rustling of 4 million trees, in the laughter of children who had never known war, in the handshakes between former enemies, the lesson echoed on: kindness is not weakness. Patience is not fear, and those who mistake one for the other will learn the difference. They will always learn the difference.